Welcome in to an early edition, an early Christmas edition of Building the Pride. I'm your host, Drew, and I'm joined always by my co host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Fantastic, Drew. Yet another Victory Tuesday, Christmas Eve edition.
Yeah, exactly. Santa was delivering gifts a little bit early this year.
Yep, love it.
Nailed it. Humor. I am sick. So we're going to keep this a little bit quicker than we normally do. And I believe, Mike, we're going to try and have it post at our normal time at 7. Is that right?
No, we're live right now, buddy.
Oh, we're just going to do it? Okay.
We're just gonna do it live. Might as well. Anybody happen to be taking the day off work today? They can check us out right now. And
We'll
if
do
not,
it
they can
live.
video on demand, right? So
Yeah.
if they want to check us out at 7, it will be there.
I'll write it. We'll do it live. Who was that guy? Was that Bill O'Reilly back in the day? He had that
Could be.
huge tirade, and his the whole catchphrase that came out of it is "We'll do it live. We'll do it live." All right. Well, anyways, it's a
I am
Family Guy
unsure.
clip, so
Yes.
look that up. It's pretty funny. Yes. So I believe, Mike, and I don't know how we can check this, but I believe I predicted the score exactly last week. I can go back to our previous broadcast whilst you're talking, and
I think you did, and a lot of times I'll throw that into our Discord. What our predictions were. I just don't remember seeing that. I don't remember doing that last time
oh, I think we did, buddy.
in the
You're
Discord.
oh, not in the Discord,
Oh,
but in
okay.
the chat.
I definitely put it in the chat, so we can take a look at last week's video and see what that looks like. Um, but it was a good game. Do we want to start with some news and notes around the NFL, or just go straight into the game? I got a ton of news and notes.
I've
But
got one quick note. The
all right.
Packers whooped the Saints last week or yesterday, but I think his name is Christian Watson.
Mm-hmm.
He tweaked his knee, and as of right now, oh, I didn't do it. I said 35-17. Oh.
Oh my gosh! So you weren't even close.
No, you got the Lions score right. You had 34-20. So
You
that's
still
pretty
win
good.
closest,
Mm.
uh, in the game show thing. 35-17 is closer than 34-20.
Is it?
So Drew wins. Drew wins on that one.
Hooray. So Christian Watson tweaked his knee. Status TBD. The reason I'm bringing that up is the Packers have a short week. They play the Vikings on Thursday, I believe.
Yep.
Which has serious implications for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Basically, the Lions
Go
and
Packers.
go Packers, I suppose. The Lions and the Vikings both need to win out in order to secure the number 1 seed, which is just
Which
a
both of those
crazy
things
thing.
can't happen,
Right.
right? Because we play each other in the final week, so one of us has to lose. And if it ends up in a tie, we have the tiebreaker. So they literally have to beat us to bounce us out of the number 1 seed.
That would be insane if it ended in a tie.
The Washington Commanders, thank
Yeah.
you. Driving down the field in the last 30 seconds to score the go-ahead points to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sure one of our subscribers, Michael Wharton, to be big Eagles fan. He's probably not too thrilled, but
sorry, Mike.
All's fair in love and football. So appreciate Washington stepping in, giving them a L, and helping us allow for a little bit of leeway in the whole win-loss column thing.
Very nice to have a little bit of breathing room, at least on Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So now if Green Bay could be really cool for once, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I thought maybe Seattle would do it for us. They're a tough stadium to play in, and Minnesota walked out with the W there. So that was
Yeah.
a real bummer.
Seattle was up in the fourth quarter of that game, and I thought, oh, okay, we got one of those kind of moments, unfortunately. But oh well, Seahawks didn't get it done for us. That's okay.
Sorry, maybe Green Bay can come through. They're used to screwing us over, so they'll probably lose. But maybe for once they can do something good for us.
I believe that the Vikings' only losses this year are to the Lions and Rams. So
I believe that is correct.
Hopefully Green Bay will have a little chip on their shoulder, because otherwise they're going to get swept by two of their division opponents this year.
That's not a good look.
And if Detroit beats Minnesota on the last game of the season, we will have swept the division, which would be great. Just in and of itself.
That was one of the preseason calls that I made.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was watching. The only one that came true.
I was watching our draft video.
God, such a riot, isn't it?
I was so grumpy that day.
Well, we did take a running back and a linebacker.
No, this is the Terry and Arnold draft.
Oh.
And
we were drafting really late.
I was so tired.
So it was yeah.
And you made a call like an hour in, where you were like, because we had started, I think it was right after the Michael Penix pick, and no defensive players had been taken yet. And you were like, if these defensive guys keep getting pushed down, I could see us trading up to like 23, 24 and like taking one of them. It's exactly what happened. It was fun to just kind of reminisce about that. Yeah, you made a lot of good calls that night, man.
Yeah, I think it was that was fun. Cause honestly, my favorite part of that whole night was when Atlanta took Penix, and you're just like, what? Why would you do that? Yeah. Why would you do that? And now he's their starter.
Maybe we can just talk about this for a second. You signed Kirk Cousins in the offseason.
$100 million.
Yeah, a lot of guaranteed money, 4-year deal, coming off the injury. You missed out on Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Cut Matt Ryan. Hey Pat, Merry Christmas, man. And this was kind of you had Desmond Ridder. They had Desmond Ridder there for a year or two. 1 year, I think. And yeah, well, we both have Christmas Eve plans with the family. So we're trying to get it in.
We're going to do the same thing next week, except we're going to do it Monday night instead of Tuesday, because Tuesday night is New Year's Eve.
Yeah. So they gave Kurt big money. They draft his backup. That wasn't on my radar. I was very surprised, as I think a lot of people were. And then it turns out that Kurt's contract is really more of a 2-year deal, and then they can get out of it after the second season. And now there's a report out that they are planning to cut him before the start of the new league year to say they'll take a big hit, but they'll save $10 million based upon when his incentives or whatever they call them are due.
Like roster bonuses.
Yeah, thank you. And his roster bonuses. And so looks like this is Michael Penix's team. 14 games, 16 games into the season. So congratulations. I didn't see this coming, but this will be something that the NFL at least will be like, remember that time Atlanta signed Kirk Cousins and then drafted Penix, and we all thought it was nuts. Here, this is why. So I would be surprised if some teams didn't emulate this pattern. Kirk Cousins will now be a free agent again. So, wonder where he goes next. But I think that his top of the market days are probably done.
Yeah.
So
he's made a lot of money he's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. He was always in that 8 to 12 range. He wasn't like super high end elite, but he was like just outside of that for most of his career. Just never on a team that was fully functioning around him. Much like the Lions, there was always something going on with the team, either a bad defense or bad coaching. There was just pieces missing from whatever team he's been on. And generally, he's done his part, but he is 1 out of 53 men. And sometimes you can't overcome bad coaching or bad defense or dropped passes or whatever, right? So, but he's made a pretty solid living doing what he's been doing. Speaking of good calls during either draft day or preseason picks, I'm going to throw this thing up here. Jack Campbell is one of 5 players in the NFL to record 110 plus tackles, 5 or more tackles for loss, 5 or more pass defenses, which again, coverage was not his strong suit. He's really improved, and a forced fumble. Anzalone and Stephen Tulloch are the only Lions players to do this since 1994. One of your calls, Drew, was that Jack Campbell was going to be, what would you say, it was like a top 10?
He would have an 80 overall PFF grade at the end of the season.
Right. And that was going to put him in that like top 10 range. So I haven't looked at grades yet, but this is definitely on your way to being that kind of graded linebacker.
Yeah. So he is about the only preseason bet that I can still win.
I thought I had a good one when I picked Hutch to be Defensive Player of the Year, and 4 games in, he was blowing everybody away, and it wasn't even close. And then the unthinkable happens. Although maybe he might be back, not obviously regular season, but if we get far enough in the playoffs, he might be back.
I am a little bit worried though because they played George Kittle and then T.J. Hawkinson back-to-back weeks to end the season, and that's probably not a great. You'll have to have really, really good games.
Well, he's not going to be. I'm talking about Hutch, right?
I'm talking about Jack.
Yeah.
So
the other interesting one was around St. Brown, and just St. Brown appreciation time. Since 2024, he's second in reception percentage, second in receiving first downs, tied for second in total receptions in games with 5 or more receptions, 12. Third in receiving touchdowns, 4th in scrimmage yards per touch, and in receiving yards. So we definitely got a steal with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So a little appreciation time for him as well. He got the game ball this past week, which
they only hand those out.
JMO.
Okay. JMO got the other one?
No, I thought it would probably go to him with the big play, long touchdown.
Well, he was great.
Even when Campbell tossed the ball to St. Brown, he's like, me? He's like, yeah, you. I think he thought it was supposed to go to JMO, and I think JMO was standing next to him, and he was like, really, me?
I thought JMO played a really good game. So let's talk about the game.
Let's do it.
We won.
Yay.
In Soldier Field. Doubled them up. I've watched the game twice. My thoughts largely were that Detroit's just better than this team. Pretty much top to bottom. And one thing I noticed that the Lions were doing a lot of in this game was playing zone. And those were the drives that was one of the drives where Chicago basically went right down the field in the first half. But I have been advocating for more zone against quarterbacks like Caleb Williams because eyes are on the backfield. You run up, tackle, and like the Lions have played very good red zone defense this year. And so I'm kind of fine with anything in between the 20s until they, stiffen up or play better defense, inside the red zone and like hold them to a field goal try or create a turnover. I mean, in the early part of the season, Kirby Joseph was going insane with red zone interceptions, and that has unfortunately tailed way off. But he had a bunch to go right off the bat, and that ended a lot of threats. So
We are 6th in the NFL, speaking of red zone touchdown percentage, at 50%. The Chargers in first are at 44.7. So it's a pretty tight area there in that top 6.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought Gibbs looked really good. He didn't have his customary like 20 yards run or anything, but he had lots of 6, 7, and 8s, and that's what I want because it controls the down and distance, and that puts
chains.
Jared Goff in and Ben Johnson in the like we have access to our whole bag of tricks, and it keeps the offense on schedule. So I was very happy about Gibbs. Thought he played excellent all game.
Yep. One of the big things, the difference between last week and this week, Frank Ragnow is at the very top of that performance after last week being at the very bottom. Zeitler played well. Christian Mahogany, 65 snaps, 7.6 grade.
I want to talk about
great job, Mahogany.
I want to talk about Christian Mahogany.
Do it.
So Graham Glasgow, for some reason, I don't know why, was a scratch, and he gets the nod. And he had like mononucleosis or something at the beginning of the year, and you can't like there's a I've had mono, and there's like they don't let you play sports because there's a chance that your spleen can rupture and then you might bleed to death. So
less than ideal.
Yeah, so mono most of the time, in my opinion, from what I was aware of when I was in high school, took like a month to get out of your system, and his took much longer. So I assume that there's some other injury that he was dealing with that wasn't disclosed. And I had him as a 4th round pick in the year that he came out, and he fell to the 6th round. And so a 2-round drop is typically indicative of some kind of undisclosed injury or injury concern. I hadn't heard anything about him having surgery. So something obviously I think it was something that he was rehabbing, plus the thing that had to disclose, which was the mononucleosis. So finally he gets in the game at left guard, and I'm like beyond thrilled at how he played, because as much as I love Graham Glasgow, and I do, he has not played well this year. Very valuable guy to have
consistently well,
right? And that's the problem. And like the way that I view the Lions is that if they don't win on their offensive line, it's a completely different team. Like none of the stuff works.
Yeah.
So that's where that is the unconditional pillar of the Detroit Lions entire football team, as far as I am concerned, is the offensive line. And so they have tried Keoti Awashika, Kobe Sorsdal. There's been a couple of other guys that have been elevated from like the practice squad in order to just like do spot duty and that kind of thing. And it's because Christian Mahogany wasn't available. And so this kind of outing to me puts him in line that if Glasgow can't go, he's the primary left guard backup.
Yep.
And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day in a chat room, and it's my opinion that he will push Glasgow for the starting left guard job next year, which would be great. So,
And if
so
he
I'm
keeps putting
thrilled.
up games like this,
Yeah,
yep,
if he
just
does
stack 'em,
this,
baby.
it's perfect. Like, he's the height, weight, speed that you want. He has like short legs for a huge person, but whatever. But like the pass blocking grade was excellent. Run blocking not as good, but like I think that those probably both improve in time. It should be pointed out that Chicago was down their best interior lineman in Gervon Dexter, who gave Ragnow problems in the Thanksgiving Day meeting. So I think that's a big deal. Hey Zakwa.
What's up, Zeka? Yeah, I was looking at this early on. Now, granted, it was really early on. I, I'll start by saying I thought Jared Goff played really well. I'm usually glass half empty with Goff, right? But I thought he played really well. That said, early on, we lost 4 points because he badly underthrew St. Brown. Made him stop, turn around, go to his knees to catch something, and he was behind the defense. And I'm like, man, if that comes back to bite us in the butt, those 4 points could be the thing. It didn't, and he made a beautiful bomb throw to Jameson Williams, who caught it this time.
In
I thought
stride.
in stride, it was probably his best deep throw of the year.
Oh,
Except for the
I
one
would say
last week that JMO dropped was another beauty. But like I thought Goff played really well after that first one. I'm like, oh my god, we just completely, missed out on 4 points. We ended up kicking a field goal, I believe, at that on that drive, and he came back and just played really well the rest of the game.
so. Jared Goff outdoors on grass put that ball 60 yards in the air.
Yep.
So I mean, I know periodically. So if we beat San Francisco, yeah. So the key there, Zakwa, is that Minnesota has to lose to Green Bay.
Minnesota has to lose one more game,
And then I
and
don't
we
think
have
that
to
we
win
can.
out.
Yeah.
Or win,
Well,
actually. We
we
just
have
need
to.
one win. They need one loss.
Either team can win out, and they'll get the 1 seed. So like, does it matter then if Green Bay beats Minnesota?
It does if we lose to San Francisco.
Sure.
All we need to do is win one and have them lose one, regardless of whether we beat San Francisco but lose to them, but they lose to Green Bay. Like it doesn't matter. We just have to win one of our next two, and they have to lose one of their next two, and it is our number one seed. And it may come down to that week 18, where it is us versus them. If they beat Green Bay and we beat San Francisco, the winner of that game will get the number one seed and home field throughout the playoffs.
I'm very surprised that Penny Sewell is all the way down there at
Yeah.
15. He must have just gotten beat a couple of times. His pass blocking grade is quite low. There's a lot of Lions fans out there saying they'll be the biggest Packer fans this week.
Right?
And I'm like, I don't know. I still don't like them.
Yeah, but this is one of those times where you're like, well, I guess they could win and I'll be okay with it. All right.
Yeah, I'm not going to be upset if they win. Let's take a look at the defense, Mike. Unless you got anybody
right.
else you wanted to call
Well, I
out.
got a couple other things I'm going to pop over here real quick.
Sure.
Sam Laporta becomes the first Lions tight end and one of the only three tight ends in NFL history to have 125 receptions and 15 touchdowns through their first two seasons. Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham being the other. 13 wins is the most by Lions in franchise history. So awesome job, guys. 475 points scored this season, franchise record. and we are only through week 16. So none of this like, oh, well, it's we've got extra week. This no, it doesn't matter. We are 15 games in, and we have already scored the most points in franchise history. Um, Interesting that they put Ben Johnson's picture there and not Goff or
It's in
like a
there.
collage. I mean, they got Goff here and St. Brown there. I would have expected a larger collage, but I do believe that he is the mastermind. The dude is brilliant. Um, and let's do the last one on the offense here. The only running backs in franchise history to produce a 1,500-yard and 15 touchdown season is Jahmyr Gibbs, Barry Sanders, and Billy Sims.
God, he's got 15 touchdowns. That's just a crazy number.
Yeah, scrimmage touchdowns, not all necessarily rushing.
Yeah, it's still a huge number.
And to be in with Barry and Billy is a really great company. So, as much as we poo-pooed the draft choice of taking a running back that early, he is playing stellar.
Yep.
So, I guess let's pop over to defense. I've got one quick thing here. Amik Robertson. Yeah, Aaron Gillespie was outstanding, covered great all day, played physical on the perimeter, and he was a force for us.
Yeah, he
big
played the
shout out
run
from
very well
Aaron
too.
Glenn. He did. So that said, let's pop over to the grades on the defensive side. Yeah, and he Robertson had a 71.6 grade. Brian Branch bounced back this week after having kind of a down week last
So
week.
his grades are so reliant upon how well he tackles.
Yeah.
So, and he's good at it. So I don't know why he just doesn't do it all the time, but he doesn't for whatever reason.
Sometimes he just launches himself like a missile, and like, you're not gonna be able to stay up after this. And sometimes they just do.
Well, he's not the biggest dude. I mean, like he's solid, but like he's not like Ronnie Lott or somebody back there like ready to take your
Right.
head off. So
what are the standouts on the defense here?
well, to me, it's Amik Robertson because like Amik has basically played like 1/3 to half the defensive snaps, like up until like the last couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, like, play the guy more. Like, why not? You know who?
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing Vilder and Dorsey. Let's just put him in the game for more. You know, like bring him out for a breather or whatever, but like get him in for like 3/4 of the snaps. You know, and so this week he basically plays all but one defensive snap, and he's got his best grade in that I can remember, and for a really long time. But like the thing that I think about when I see this grouping is just how many names there are that I just don't. So by the way, Ife Melifonwu activated like on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Plays 50 snaps.
Yeah. He played him well. 66.5 grade is no slouch. That is a solid starting grade.
Got a sack.
Yep, 3 pressures and a sack.
You know, so like I don't know. Yeah, Zadarius had a rough
let me
game.
scroll down. He did have a rough game.
Look at where he had the rough game. It's his tackling. Look at that 25.
Yeah.
So like this is not the first game where he's had just atrocious tackling scores. He just leaps at dudes sometimes.
Well, I mean, Swift is a shifty mother out there, and Caleb Williams evaded tackles left and right basically all game as well. So I'm actually surprised to see so many tackling grades as high as they were. I mean, obviously Z is way down there, but to be honest, I'm surprised that there's this many over a 66 grade, because I felt like they were just outside of reach, or he couldn't quite get them down. Yeah, 6 pressures. Pascal had 4.
And a nice fumble recovery. It was so nice of the Bears. This is what they did against the Vikings last week is they just started off the game inexplicably turning the ball over. So like Roma Dunze, they're the ninth pick in the draft for the Bears, doesn't secure a handoff from Caleb Williams. Pascal recovers, just reaches out his huge paw, pulls the thing into his body. Excellent. Then, not too much later, maybe the next series, even I can't remember. He has a really nice catch, and it was like a 30-yard play. And then I thought he was down, but then as he's down, you can see his like one free hand desperately searching for the ball, and then like Ben Neiman or somebody like comes up with it, and it was like, here, look what I found. This is ours now, right? Yay! And turn the ball over again, and like there's just no way that a team like the Bears can spot the Lions 2 turnovers.
Right. I mean, I'd say that was the margin of victory, slightly outside of that, but those 2 turnovers, I believe we got 14 points off of both of those, and that all of a sudden makes it a field goal game, right? If those kind of things don't happen, and now it's something, a flip of the coin when it comes to a bounce here or a break there. And I thought, yeah, to your point, they're not good enough to overcome that against a team as good as us. I will note that Jalen Reeves-Maybin returned to practice, and they opened up his clock to return. So I'll be curious to see how, if he gets to make it in against San Francisco this weekend.
That would be nice to have him back. He's a very good coverage linebacker. He's been out for a while, so I'm not expecting that he looks like he's in mid-season form or what have you, but it would be nice to have another person that could line up and take George Kittle for a play.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
All right, so let's do a quick position check on linebacker here. So this is for the year. Jack Campbell is 12th overall, and he's at a 75.4. So he's closing in on that 80 for you, Drew.
He's got to have 2 pretty good games.
Yeah.
Wow, look at Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way to go, guys.
Guys there. Hicks, Bush, and Owus. I'm not even pronouncing that.
Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah.
They call him Joker because it's J-O-K.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny says, look at Jack Campbell's coverage grade. You wouldn't have seen that last year. It's 70.7. This is a huge boost to where he was last year.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't know that there really are designated run-stopping linebackers in the NFL anymore. Like, if you look at the top of this list, obviously there are good run-stopping linebackers, but like you can't be just a run-stuffing linebacker anymore. You have to be a coverage linebacker who can stop the run, as opposed to a run-stuffing linebacker who can cover. So.
Yeah, and we don't ask him to pass rush.
Good.
His grade's at 56.6, but we're not asking him to do that, and I think some of that is how he's just not getting as many opportunities, maybe. Let's see. He's right here on the pass rush side. So I guess maybe it's about average for
15 games, 95. What is that? 6 a game?
Yeah, about that.
That's more than I would have thought.
Yeah, actually, same. I just don't remember. Rodrigo actually has a one of the highest run defense, which doesn't surprise me because he was a tackling machine, and he would fill the gaps pretty well.
It'd be nice to have some of these guys back.
It definitely would. What else we want? Anything? Oh, so what did you think about the Stumble Ruski play where I guess they had practiced it all week, and apparently Ben Johnson came to Jared Goff and said, "Hey, do you think you can fumble the ball on purpose, recover it, and then make a play?" And he's like, "I'm not sure about actually fumbling the ball, but how about we still keep the ball in my hands?" And they settled on stumbling and pretending the ball got loose. And from what Craig Reynolds said, on the sidelines, the entire team yelled "loose ball" or something to that effect when they made the fake stumble fumble,
Hmm.
and which I thought was awesome. That's when you know the whole team's in on it. They know what's going on, sell it out, and you could see those defensive players kind of turn and look for a split second while he was down, pretending to get the ball and yada yada, and then throws a nice long pass to a wide open Sam Laporta.
What I thought of it was, I'm going to say irrelevant because it resulted in a touchdown. So kind of
Yeah,
hard to argue with it. I
yeah,
will say the Lions are running a great deal of these trick plays this year, and like more trick plays than say fake punts, which there was a
yep.
lot. There's been more fake punts in the previous seasons, and all of those kinds of plays I hate because they're typically low percentage, even though the Lions seem to be doing a very good job of executing them. And I think this is probably my major contention point of contention with them is that I feel like they're not necessary. Like the Lions offense can just go and line up, find their mismatch, check out of it, beat you one of like five different ways. And they do that the overwhelming majority of the games. So my question is, why are they doing this so frequently? And CBS had a um, panel discussion today with some NFL media guys, and Kyle Long, who's formerly a Bear, thought that this is something that teams are going to have to scout now. So the Lions are trying to, steal a 1% margin of victory because their opponents have to now spend time in film going over the play, perhaps practicing to stop it. And like it's one more thing for them to think about than just dealing with their base personnel.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason that makes any logical sense to me, because otherwise Ben Johnson is just a dick.
I, so I think I think that's probably part of it, right? You got to keep them honest with always wondering if this play is going to be just like the fake punts. Like you do a couple of those a year. Now, granted, we did more than a couple, right? More than the normal, but every team does a couple a year just to kind of keep the defense, the opposing special teams honest of like, what are you going to do? And I think when we were more aggressive previously, probably because we didn't think we had the team that could just overcome. We had to steal possessions in the past. We don't have to steal possessions anymore, unless we get down by a couple scores like we did in Buffalo. Right? That's when you have to bring those out. We don't have to do that right now. So I think part of that is just trying to keep the defense guessing, but also I think a lot of it is it's just fun. It has got to be fun for the players to do that kind of stuff and have it turn out. We didn't have to throw the ball to Dan Skipper, but everybody on that team loved it. They were excited about it. They played their ass off to make that play work, and they do that for every single one of these because they are relatively rare. And I think it gives our guys a little bit of variety and fun, and just like when they practice celebrations, right? And they do those after big plays, and they do that stuff because it's fun and it helps them enjoy the game. So I think fun is really a big piece of why we're doing that as well. Not just the whole now you got to scout for nonsense, right?
Um, prop seems like it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's
I'd love to have Ben on and ask him like, so these are
yes.
fun to watch, right? Like,
Hey, Ben
why?
Johnson.
Why do you do this, Ben? Like, is there's got to be some strategy behind because we didn't have to have that. We could have run a different play at that time. We were up by, I think we were up by 14 or 10 or something at that point. It wasn't the game's in doubt. Like, we're having our way with them. So, like, maybe that could have stayed in the on the sheet until we really needed to pull out something fancy. So why do you run that there? But I'd love to hear his answer on that.
Well,
I
we
think we
do
have
have
one more show.
136 subscribers. So we're getting real close to having the clout to get the Lions offensive coordinator onto the show to explain his thought process. So we're real close. Of course, we did have the
Well,
VP of Research and Development from PFF on.
that's true. It's true. So as we preview next week, this weekend, Detroit in San Francisco. We're 13-2. They are 6-9. Do we want to do a playoff predictor kind of review real quick? What our different scenarios are?
Yeah, we can. I think they're pretty well documented, but like this is pretty fun to do.
All right. So this is going to be a really, really good game. I think it's gonna be Kansas City, even though
Well, you
Pittsburgh's
can't
at home.
lose.
Well, also I mean, Pittsburgh is on a 0-2 streak. When they've played really good teams, the last 2 weeks, they've lost, and I think this is yet another one. So I'm thinking it's going to be Kansas City there. I'm assuming Tampa over Carolina.
Well, all of a sudden, this becomes like a real game
I
because
know Bryce Young is playing well.
playing well and Carolina beat Arizona to not, I believe, to knock them out of the playoffs.
Yep.
And Tampa Bay is a game behind Atlanta. So Tampa Bay has to win these last two games, I think. So I think that it's at Tampa Bay, so I'm going to give the nod to them.
Yep.
But I don't think that's going to be easy.
Yeah, that's not one of them you're picking in your Survivor League.
Right.
Baltimore and Houston.
I'm going to pick Baltimore. Houston just lost Tank Dell to a pretty gruesome injury.
Yeah.
And he was a big part of their offense.
Yep. Raiders in New Orleans. New Orleans, who just got absolutely annihilated by Green Bay.
Like the Who Cares Bowl.
Right.
I mean,
it doesn't affect our playoffs, so we can literally just click through. But who do you think is going to win? I think it's going to be the Las Vegas.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I usually, when I don't have any idea, I usually just default to the home team. But but you pick. Go ahead. You pick whoever you want. Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter for our seeding anyway.
Yeah.
Seattle in Chicago.
I don't see any reason why the Bears would fix what their problem is.
Yeah. Dallas and Philly.
Dallas did just beat Tampa Bay.
And Philly did just lose to
Hurts is concussed, and we don't know what that looks like yet. So but this to me is, if Hurts is out, it's Dallas, and if Hurts is in, it's Philadelphia. But I'll say Philadelphia.
Let's go with Philadelphia to see what the seedings look like should things fall where that matters. The Chargers over the Patriots, the Colts over the Giants. None of those things matter. This will be interesting for the AFC. I actually think it's going to be Cincinnati.
Okay.
But man, Bo Nix is playing really well over in Denver.
Well, Denver just kind of, I think that I picked them to win, and then I think they got beat last week, didn't they?
I don't recall.
Doesn't matter.
Games. Week
16.
Come on. There it is. Week 16. Yeah, they got beat by the Chargers.
Yeah, so they now need a win, but like this, Cincinnati's playing better than I give them credit for. I just hate their defense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think their offense will do what it needs to do, more so than what their defense can't stop. Another Who Cares Bowl.
Yeah, I think Miami wins that game.
Zona's out. LA is still.
Yeah.
They're fighting with Seattle for that top spot. It's in LA. This is going to be the game that we really care most about.
I still think this is Minnesota.
God, you son of a bitch.
It's at home. They have a lot to play for. They don't like the Packers. Yeah.
Buffalo over the Jets.
Well, I think Washington has to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive.
They stay 7th seed there. It does bump them from 7th to 6th.
I mean, this will be Pennick's second start.
Yeah.
So if you can win your second start on the road against a playoff team, okay, like
right.
Things are looking pretty good. I'll say Tennessee, I guess.
Somebody's got to win.
Sure.
And
us.
Detroit, right?
I just think that they're better.
Yeah. Houston over Tennessee.
Yeah.
Probably the Colts over the Jags.
This is the only weird thing about this. Like Jacksonville has like this uncanny way of beating the Colts when it fucks up something for them. Like I don't know that Indianapolis can get into the wild card, but I do think the Colts will win. But
Atlanta over Carolina, or does Carolina go on a tear?
They could play spoiler here for a couple of AFC South teams.
At this point, it doesn't even matter.
Well, we haven't got to Tampa Bay's game yet.
That's true. It does matter.
See,
so if Tampa Bay loses to New Orleans, then this does matter to them. So we're going to say it's going to matter more to them. And I just don't see Kansas City losing to Denver.
It'll depend on...
One loss is tough.
It'll depend on whether or not Kansas City is going to play their starters, which they might have the 1 seed locked up by this point. And yeah, there's no team that could catch them. But like, I don't think they're going to. I mean, I think they might let Carson Wentz play. I still think that Kansas City beats Denver with Carson Wentz playing for him.
Yeah.
I think Tampa Bay wins.
Home, right?
Yeah.
Probably the Chargers over the Raiders. Let's see what happens if Seattle wins. So LA wins in week 17. They've guaranteed the playoffs. Now it's about seeding. We'll take the home team in a close match. Washington.
I think Washington's better.
Buffalo.
Yeah. Which
Philly.
Weirdly snuck by New England.
Just barely. The Fish over the Jets. Although, I mean, the Jets are playing okay right now. They're not quite good enough to win, but not as bad as they were earlier in the season. We're going to come back to that one last. Baltimore at home over Cleveland. Green Bay over Chicago. Cincy continues their tear because they have to, and even to have any hope of making the playoffs, which doesn't even look like it still matters. They really need somebody else to lose. They need Pittsburgh to lose back here.
I think they need Los Angeles to lose. The Chargers. They're not going to win their division, so they're fighting for a wild card spot.
So
So
even if New England loses there, and then Raiders lose there, they're still. Are they? They must be eliminated.
maybe
Oh well, maybe. Well, let's see.
that's entirely possible.
Colts, Miami. So these are the home teams, or these are the division leads. They might be eliminated.
So on ESPN, they are the last team that has not been eliminated yet.
Okay.
But this must be like you need 4 or 5 things to go your way in order for them to make the playoffs, and I don't know what they are. But I think it's like LA's got to lose, Miami's got to lose.
There you go. Miami has to lose to Cleveland. The Chargers have to lose to New Orleans or New England. They have to win out. And then in week 18, yeah, the Colts have to lose to Jacksonville.
Jesus.
This is quite the parlay. So just throwing this out there, throw $1 on this, and you might be a millionaire. The Raiders have to beat. Actually, they don't. That doesn't change that at all. Yeah, a lot of it comes down to what happens this week in week 17. The other ones don't seem to affect it much. All right, and then down to the Lions versus Minnesota.
I think Detroit wins. Campbell's not going to do. He's certainly not going to sit players.
Not unless we win this week and Minnesota loses to Green Bay.
Let's
And even
go
then,
back
I don't
and
think he'll sit them.
if you go back to week 17 and flip the winner there, I don't think it matters.
It does.
Oh.
Because if we win one game, which we would have week 17 over San Francisco, and they lose one game, whether that's to Green Bay or us, we're in.
Well,
so
there's
that's
a lot
why
more
we're
on
rooting
this
so hard
Packers
for Green
game.
Bay.
Well, if rooting for a team helped ensure a win, I'd root for them too, but
yeah. So, I mean, even if we didn't win that game, and for whatever reason we don't win the division at 14-3, which is absurd. To be honest, that's about as good of a first round matchup as you're going to get.
it would be kind of nice to play them again because that was one of the losses that we had.
Yep.
And I largely think that they beat themselves, although it's a very different team right now on defense. So, I'm not thrilled about playing them, but to be honest, I'm not thrilled about playing any of these teams. The team that I would want to play out of all of these teams is Washington.
Yeah.
And it's because you have a rookie quarterback.
You'd rather play Washington than Tampa?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. 10 out of 10. So
yeah, I think I'd rather play Tampa. Not by much, like 51-49 Tampa over Washington, but like 51%. I'd rather play Tampa. 49%. I'd rather play Washington. But
Baker Mayfield has demonstrated that he can get off of a plane and go to play for a new team and win a football game. Like, he just has that kind of irrational confidence that can just translate into a performance that you can't beat. And like I respect what Jaden Daniels has done in Washington this year. I would much rather play someone who's never done it before.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I find him to be more scary than Baker Mayfield. Because we also know the Baker Mayfield that's on his 5th team or whatever number, because he just is erratic, is prone to turnovers, prone to bad decisions. I know that one exists as well. Just like you know, he came to LA, got there on like a Thursday and played on Sunday and won.
Right.
Like, there's also that Baker. So Um, yeah, those would definitely be the two that I would like to play. If Minnesota wins the NFC because they beat us in the last game, we're looking at playing Tampa Bay. I think we win there, and then I believe we would play Minnesota because I think Philadelphia probably beats Green Bay, and LA probably beats Washington. So we would probably play Philadelphia in that second round.
See, I don't want that.
I don't want that either. I would love to see Green Bay win because I think we have a better chance of beating Green Bay than Philadelphia. So if Green Bay won that game, that's not terrible. But I would definitely rather have this scenario right here.
Yeah, I would much rather play the Bucks or the Rams in round 2 than the Eagles.
Yeah, and I'm not. Do you know? Do they reseed? So if like Green Bay beats Philadelphia, would we play Green Bay in that first, or I
I
guess
doubt
second
it.
round matchup?
Do the NFL playoffs reseed? After the wild card games are completed, the matchups of the divisional playoffs feature the lowest remaining seed in each conference traveling to the highest remaining seed, and the second lowest remaining seed traveling to the second highest remaining seed. So, no.
Okay, so if Green Bay beats Philadelphia, we will play Green Bay in that second round of the playoffs, and Los Angeles will play, assuming they win, would play the winner of the Minnesota Tampa Bay game. Actually, yeah, whoever wins either of those games will play the winner of whoever wins either of those games.
So we get we would get Green Bay, right?
We would get Green Bay if they win, which I think we have to root for.
Well, I would be rooting for Green Bay and Washington in that scenario because I would rather play either of those teams than Minnesota.
Yep.
Well, it's out of our hands. I can tell you that. Like, I don't have a say in what happens.
We'll see what happens. I do think let's bounce over real quick because I know we're real close to the end of our hour. I believe San Francisco just lost a player to injury.
Trent Williams has been ruled out for the year, according to Kyle Shanahan. So they will not have.
He's okay too. Like
he's all right.
Player.
He's all right. Maybe a Hall of Famer, but who's still playing at elite level football. But like, and it's always good to not play against a guy of that caliber. But like, I'm almost to the point where it's like, it just feels like you either have to blitz to get pressure right now, or everybody on the defensive line is going to end up at the quarterback at the same time. And there's like no in between. Like, I haven't seen Zadarius Smith like win off the edge one-on-one. You know, maybe he does it this game or what have you, but you know, like pressure. I mean, like they have guys out.
Yep. The other one that I remember seeing, so Trent Williams is out. Dre Greenlaw was questionable, and the last I saw, it was trending to him not likely to play.
Well, good.
Right? No offense, Dre, but we hope that you don't get to play this week.
Yeah. Here's one more
strong in the final week of the season.
Here's one more weird kind of note. Jair Alexander, for the cornerback for the Packers, seems like there is some contention between him and the organization because he showed up on the injury report today, I believe, and may not play against the Vikings, but he hasn't played much this year. And I don't know. Yeah. He was out for the Saints game.
Yep.
But like, why?
Knee injury.
Let me. I know we're just about done, but let me go to PFF real quickly. I just want to look at how many games this year he's played.
He is a cornerback.
He has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games this season. So, well, six and change, because he got hurt at Chicago in week 11. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was chatter in the offseason about him trying to force his way out.
Okay.
You know, so draft night trade, something. I think that there's some real tension here between him and the organization. So I don't think it's just an injury, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Who knows? Well, that's the show. I've got to go because I have a headache.
Yeah, that's no fun. Well, I know the little tagline down here says "Catch us live every Tuesday." That is a inaccuracy for next week. We're gonna be Monday at 7:00, and not Tuesday. So, hope to see you guys there. Appreciate everybody kind of popping in. Zeka, Danny, Pat, all popping in out of the blue with a 1:00 start today. So appreciate y'all. Have an amazing Christmas, holiday season, whatever it is you celebrate, and have it be fun, joyful, relaxing, and have a really solid ending to your 2024.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys.
Yep. We'll see y'all Monday, 7:00. See you guys.